So, thank you everybody for coming to the last of the ASUF candidate forums. Woo! So, tomorrow and Friday we'll have voting 24 hours. You can vote here, anywhere on a lot of polling places on campus, MBS, Tilly, so on and so forth. You can also vote online. So if you can't make it up here, that's another way that you can vote. So here are some of our candidates that'll be running for different seats and in ASUF. So if you could please state your name, starting from you on down. State your name, class standing, major, and any prior involvement with ASUF.
My name is Matt Harris. I am a sophomore in the anthropology and philosophy program. I am currently running for concert board, as I just announced my candidacy a few hours ago. I am a write-in candidate, and there'll be more information through the discussion.
I'm Eli Barry Garland. I'm a junior in the mechanical engineering program. And yeah, you'll hear more about me soon.
Hello, my name is Taisha Nick, and I'm a junior. My major is natural resources management, and I guess the involvement would include Secretariat for Native Alaska Business Leaders, Secretariat for Natives for Positive Change, and I'm also involved with the American Indian Science and Society, the society one, and ANSIP.
My name is Dylan Ball. I'm a junior. I'm running for ASUAF president. My major is Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
Hello, my name is Christian Burns Schaefer. I'm a sophomore, currently majoring in mathematics with a minor in business administration. I served for 1 year on the Senate. I also served a term on the elections board, and I've been an officer for numerous student organizations, including president of Sigma Phi Epsilon, as well as 1 year as a Sweet Scholar.
Hi, Erica Phelps. I'm a linguistics major. I'm a junior, and that's about it.
We're writing together.
Hi, I'm Mickey Zachary. I'm running for vice president with ALO Scannell. I'm a junior in electrical engineering. I've spent the last 2 years serving as a senator in ASUAF, and I also work at KSUA as the engineer currently.
And I'm ALO Scannell, running for ASUAF president. I'm a senior in political science. I was appointed to the Senate last March, so I've been serving for over a year now, and I've also been the Senate chair for this past year. I also represent UAF in the Coalition of Student Leaders and also System Governance Council, and I was the treasurer for the National Model United Nations Alliance for this year.
It seems, excuse me.
Is everybody hearing them fine? Okay, cool. If anyone needs them to turn up their mics or speak a little louder, just let them know. So starting from the end, going down this way, what other clubs or organizations are you involved with on campus, and how will that experience help you if elected to a position in ASUF?
Like I just stated, I'm the representative for UAF for the Coalition of Student Leaders, which are representatives from all the University of Alaska campuses. And we get together and talk about different University of Alaska issues and some issues on our campus. I'm also the representative for the System Governance Council, which are student, staff, faculty, and alumni representatives from the 3 MAUs, UAF, UAA, and UAS, and also statewide representative. And I was also the treasurer for National Model United Nations Alliance, which we resurrected this year, and we're able to go to the National Model United Nations Conference in New York the week after spring break. So I have a lot of experience not only with student government here on campus, but also with statewide governance. And I also went to Juneau twice this year for the legislative advocacy trip to advocate for the University of Alaska Board of Regents budget, and spoke with a lot of legislators about some important programs for the University of Alaska.
So my other responsibilities around campus are with Alpha Phi Omega, the National Service Attorney on campus. It really keeps me in touch with what's going on with traditions, along with other events on campus, keeps me connected to what's going on. I also work with Quidditch Club, which we're bringing back for Springfest, so 8 p.m. tonight, some pickup. And I also, like I said earlier, I work up at KSUA, which is it was a governance agreement with ASUAF, so it helps me understand more of how the budget affects students in other ways beyond ASUAF student government.
I'm currently a member of Nanick Traditions Board, so we are bringing you Springfest, and it's really fun. I like to be involved on campus, and so I hope they keep me on next year. And I'm also going to try for the Student Activities Office next semester so we can be more involved.
Well, currently I'm the interim president of Mathematics Club. However, I'm not really too involved in student organizations this semester. For next semester, I plan on running not only for this, but also for treasurer of the Honors Student Advisory Council. And I also am currently registered to be an orientation leader.
I forgot to list my ASUAF experience the first time around, so this might be a little long-winded. I have been a senator effectively. The first day I showed up on campus, I started getting involved with the student government. I got my resume and everything and my cover letter and applied to the Senate, went through the process, and effectively as soon as I could be as a freshman coming onto this campus, I became a senator. For the last 2 years, I've also been the vice president. As a senator, I was a part of a lot of different committees. I was the chair of the Public Relations Committee, and additionally, I was on the Executive Committee and sat in on a lot of other committee meetings as well. One of my biggest achievements as the Public Relations Chair was in the fall of 2010. We hosted what was probably the single most successful public relations event on campus, which was a Senate debate between Joe Miller and Scott McAdams. That got ASUAF's name out on the national level. MSNBC reported on that debate, and we filled up the Scheibel Auditorium and a ton of other all of our overflow rooms that were live streaming that event on campus, and we had nearly 1,000 online hits. As the vice president, I have been the chair of the Club Council Committee and the Club Council Ad Hoc Committee. I've chaired Elections Board twice. I've sat on the Intercollegiate Athletics Committee. I've sat on the Auxiliary Services Food Contract Focus Group, where I've put in a lot of student input on how we can reshape our food services contracts to help improve them on campus. And one significant thing I did with that is I brought the student opinion that it was completely unacceptable to cut all the hours of the various dining locations around campus, like Taco Bell and Subway. They wanted to cut hours like crazy, and we just passed along that wasn't going to work for students. So I've done a ton within ASUAF, and I've also done some things outside of ASUAF. For my first year here on campus, I was also a photographer for the Sun Star. I've been an ROTC cadet for the last few years, and that's something that I think has actually helped me gain a lot of leadership experience, is I'm very good with working with other people and working with a team to get things done. Additionally, I'm a big brother in Big Brothers Big Sisters, because I feel like community involvement is extremely important, and I have a strong commitment to public service.
Hello. Like I mentioned before, I am currently, and since 2012, I just got involved last year with the Alaska Native Science and Engineering Program, ANSEP. And with this program, we do a lot of like intense work or so. Like every week on Saturdays, we have like mandatory math clubs and chemistry clubs to like get our work done and whatever not. And I'm also part of the American Indian Science and Engineering Society. And it's basically under a club for ANSEP. And I'm also like I mentioned before, I'm also the Secretariat for Native Alaska Business Leaders and Natives for Positive Change. And we recently came back from Phoenix, Arizona with first place and chapter of the year for the Native Alaska Business Leaders. And so that shows pretty much culture, dedication, and like experience of like what we can do and whatever not. For the Natives and Positive Change, as a secretariat, my duties are pretty much secretarial duties, taking notes of meetings and storing them. But for NFPC, one of the big events that is actually successful and the Chancellor wants it to keep going each year is Elizabeth Pradovitz Day, and that shows like where we came from, like what Alaska represents, and like what it shows of the Anti-Discrimination Act. And we also, and Natives for Positive Change also holds little events such as like small potlucks for everyone to get together. And this whole semester, each one of those has been very successful indeed. And we continue to that today, which is awesome. You guys should join these clubs. These are amazing.
I've never been directly involved in student government before, but I've been part of the ASUAF family for a while now. I work for KSUA Radio, which is one of the governance groups. I have for about a year and a half now, and before that I was a volunteer for KSUA for a couple of years. I'm also involved with a couple UAF clubs, the Gay Straight Alliance and the Associated Students of Mechanical Engineers, something like that, ASME. And working with KSUA, we've done a bunch of cooperative events with Concert Board and SAO and other ASUAF organizations, so I think I've gotten a pretty good feel for how the system works, and I know a lot of the people. It's been fun so far.
As far as my credentials go to be able to assist Concert Board in its future duties would be, I've been involved with the Fairbanks music scene for the past 9 years. I've worked with KSUA as an active volunteer for the past 5 years. And I have hands-on experience regarding event planning and dealing with people. And as far as on-campus activities, I have been an active member with the Anthropology Society in regards to any sort of event planning that we have partaken in the last year.
All right. So ASUF travels to Juneau each year to advocate for UA issues not fully funded by the governor. What issues do you think need to be discussed with legislators next year? Let's start with Schaefer and just go clockwork.
Okay, so I'm going to have to pass for a moment on this one, think about it.
Clockwise. Erica's next.
We're in a line.
All right, everyone, circle up.
I'd also like to pass.
ASUF travels to Juneau each year to advocate for UA issues not fully funded by the governor. What issues do you think need to be discussed with legislators next year?
I think to start out, we should just go with the advocacy trips are extremely effective every year. I think right now one of the biggest right now we're already looking at not having a fully funded engineering building. After we're just opening the new one, I think one of the big things that we need to make sure that by next year we are going to have the full funding to be able to go into that. I think other things that need to be advocated for by students is more into, I think advising always needs work. There's always complaints about that on campus. It's just always something to keep in mind. I mean, you can never have students doing better in school. You can always just strive for the top. And then I think the issues that they go down for are always effective, and I have full faith in what will be chosen next year.
So I'm the representative for a coalition of student leaders, and they're the ones who pretty much organize this every year. So if we had representatives from nearly every campus actually down in Juneau for the legislative advocacy trip. It's one of the most effective things that ASUAF does every year, advocating for the University of Alaska Board of Regents budget. So I went on the Coalition of Student Leaders trip, and then we were also able to do a separate trip, which we organized on our own along with some students from UAA over spring break, and we went down for 2 days to do a follow-up meeting with legislators, which I think really helped to do closer to when they actually pass the budget versus, in February when they're just starting to get into it. On Monday, I had a meeting with the System Governance Council, and we had an update from Michelle Rizek, who went over a lot of the important parts of the budget, that especially for the UAF campus. As already mentioned, the UAF engineering buildings, it looked actually like we weren't going to get funding for this session for those buildings, for UAF and UAA up until the last minute. So that was really exciting to see that came through. We got $30 million, 15 for our engineering building and 15 for UAA engineering building. So that'll help us be able to continue working on these projects, hopefully until next session, where we'll go back and request it again within the budget. But there's also when we were down there was some talk of possibly writing legislation to actually give us the funding instead of having to go through the whole budget process, which could be a lot more helpful to get that funding right away. Another thing in the capital budget, obviously, I'm sure a lot of you know that our power plant has reached its expiration, and we definitely need a new one very soon. And that was something that was also talked about a lot in Juneau. There's a lot of different options of what we can do for the new power plant, but the point is that we have to get it done. And there's a lot of legislators who have some concerns about it. When I spoke with Senator Meyer, who's one of the Senate co-chairs for finance, he is skeptical about some of the aspects of it, but for the most part, the legislators are in support of giving us a power plant because they know that it gives us heat, and in Fairbanks, it's something that we need a lot. But also, advising was a big push this year, and we were able to get some of the funding for comprehensive advising, which is a big issue for a lot of students across the UA system, and that will help keep students on track and actually being able to go into programs that are more suited towards them, and they have a better understanding of not only the tuition or different course descriptions, but also how to move forward, how to keep a plan and make it happen, and be able to graduate within a time frame that is suitable for them. So we're really excited about that. It's something we pushed for, and it was good to see that come through. But that's something we need to also work for in the future because we didn't get that fully funded.
Is that my question too? Sorry, can you repeat it?
ASUF travels to Juneau each year to advocate for UA issues not fully funded by the governor. What issues do you think need to be discussed to legislators next year?
I don't feel like I have the knowledge to answer that sort of question. The allocation of funds by the by the state senate is beyond my experience, and I would like to pass that.
As Mickey and Ayla said, the main issues kind of facing the university as far as funding go is mostly infrastructure. There's a lot of deferred maintenance on really all the buildings on campus that's never really been fully funded, as well as a massive parking shortage and a significant classroom shortage, which is partially being addressed by the new bioscience and engineering buildings, but it's still going to be a problem. So, in general, I think ASUAF should advocate for more funding for university infrastructure.
Hey, I don't really know this question, but then I'm going to give it my best shot, and you could probably ask me in a year about it again. So I guess, like with the buildings and whatever not, there's you have 3 options or so. You could totally destroy them or build off of them, still salvage for some parts, or totally build a new building or so. And the way that the funding goes for them, I kind of see that they're good but not good, because I've been hearing rumors such as they're building buildings but then have no funding for end projects or so. So I think that's one thing we should totally discuss on or so, as I get more experience with this. Thank you.
Not really a whole lot left out there that hasn't been covered already. What we've already heard are the official coalition of student leader talking points and also some UAF specific things. Obviously, for me, the biggest thing on that list is the power plant. Obviously, if our power plant fails and we haven't replaced it or restructured it, refitted it, that would be a disaster for UAF. That is our heat source. That's what keeps the pipes from freezing. That's what heats all of the major buildings on campus. So the single most important thing in the future is making sure that we have a working power plant, because currently it's extended past the period of its useful, what's considered its expected life. The engineering building, clearly anything we start, we need to finish. The engineering building has not been fully funded, so that will be a big push next year, is ensuring that we get all of the funds necessary to finish the engineering building. Deferred maintenance is another big issue here on campus, is we constantly push things back that need to get done now, but aren't necessarily absolutely critical to the structures here on campus. So we have this way of procrastinating and pushing things back, renovations and maintenance that needs to get done on buildings. So there's millions of dollars worth of what's called deferred maintenance. Is maintenance we should be doing right now for our buildings on campus, but we don't have the funding to do. And finally, I think it's incredibly important that we continue to fund comprehensive student advising. One additional thing that I've been a part of is being a part of a focus group that's looking at the future of student recreation and student athletics here on campus, and looking at potentially acquiring an additional athletics or recreational facility here on campus, or refitting ours so that it can be better. And that's something that's probably about a decade out, but that's something that I've been a part of as well, and that's something that will eventually go to the state legislature, we hope, is looking at student recreation here on campus and what we could do in terms of facilities to improve that here on campus. Thank you.
Hi, quick question for Ryan, since you're running for concert board. There is an initiative that'll, on this upcoming ballot, that will replace the voted seats with 2 new seats, one appointed from another board and one hired as a student employee. What is your thought on this?
I can't really comment on the why specifically that idea is even put out there. But in regards to what I specifically think should be done, I would say keep it an elected position, due to the fact that you can only you would essentially create such a tight niche group by allowing certain individuals to continue to pick and choose who they want, essentially losing additional voices that could help pick and choose what activities would be put into place by concert board.
Okay, and one more time, since we have a couple new people in the crowd, if we can go down from this row down and just say your name and what you're running for real quick.
My name is Matt Harris, and I am a write-in candidate for the concert board position.
My name is Eli Barry Garland, and I'm running for ASUAF Senate.
Hello, my name is Taisha Nick, and I am also running for Senate.
I'm Dylan Ball, and I'm running for ASUAF President.
Christian Burns Schaefer, also running for ASUF President.
Erica Phelps, I'm running for ASUF Vice President.
Hi, I'm Mickey Zachariou. I'm running with Alo Scannell for ASUAF Vice President.
And I'm Alo Scannell. I'm running for ASUAF President.
Okay, so let's go from Dylan Ball counterclockwise this time. If there's something ASUF has or has not done in the past, is there something ASUF has or has not done in the past which you want to change in the future?
One thing ASUAF has an excellent track record of is funding a lot of good organizations here on campus that do a lot of good things. Furthermore, another thing that ASUAF has done a tremendous job of historically is going down to Juneau and advocating on behalf of the university system as a whole to ensure that projects are funded properly. One thing that I feel that we don't do enough of here on campus is actually standing up for issues that matter on campus, like the disbursement of financial aid, for example. We don't take official stands and work together to actually make a more impactful change on the policy-making level here on campus. Recently, financial aid was changed to being dispersed the day classes begin instead of 10 days prior. That caused a lot of problems and a lot of headaches for a lot of students. I was one of them. I'm a student who personally takes out student loans. So when this kind of thing happens, I see that impact that it has on students. I feel like if we did a better job of banding together and resisting those kinds of changes that negatively impact students here on campus, in the future, when the administration tries to make these changes, they'll know that they should engage in that dialogue with students, that they can't make those changes unilaterally without effectively consent from students. So that would be my aim as a president, is I would try to fundamentally change the way we think of ourselves. Is we shouldn't just primarily be a funding source. We should do that as well, and we have done that for a long time. We should also be a student union. We need to bring students together so that we can actually make effective changes on this campus instead of each student being on their own, because a single student can't impact policy here on campus. But if we all work together, we can change those policies. We can have an impact at the decision-making level. And so that's what I aim to change, is I want more of a student union that can actually have an impact right here on campus on policy decisions that have an impact on all of our student lives. Thank you.
What I noticed, which is awesome about the ASUF, is like, of course, the organizations. Like, those are the organizations is pretty awesome. Like the funding they get and whatever not, and I guess it's not really a flaw, but then I guess the weakest flaw I can point out about ASUF is probably just mainly the back to construction again. Like say the water pipeline or the watering for the dorms and whatever not. It's like pretty. It needs like an upgrade, or at least like checked upon, or so. That's what I see. Like, but besides like students and whatever not, bonding together and whatever not, that's pretty awesome. And so yeah.
I think ASUF does a lot of things incredibly well. It funds a lot of fantastic organizations. KSUA, the Concert Board, the Sunstar, all the student clubs, all do a lot of really awesome stuff, and I hope they continue to do so. The one thing I think that the one place where things do fall a little bit short is just getting students involved. Student involvement has always been kind of low, which is understandable. Everyone has things to do, classes to attend, but it would be great if we could do a little more outreach and hopefully try to get more people involved.
In regards to what I think the concert board could be doing differently, I think that we need to see more smaller shows as opposed to these gigantic ones with these semi-established bands and or artists in regards to wouldn't you rather have more frequent activities, or would you rather have this one big thing? That's something that I personally feel I would like, the multiple smaller bands and more partnership with the local music community. But if I was elected, I would make it a point to find out what actual not saying that the concert board doesn't already partake in these activities, but I would make it a point to say and find out what students want, like, and how they feel about things that are happening. In regards to something that I think ASUAF should partake in is more student input in regards to, yes, they allow us to come to their meetings, but I mean, it's in a small boardroom that they have, and it feels like you not being a part of the ASUF government, I would personally feel like I am in an awkward position. I think that senators and or the administration, as far as the president and the vice president go, was to have an open forum, maybe on a weekly basis. Yes, sometimes students won't show up. Yes, sometimes they will. But even allowing yourself to have that sort of conversations with students, I feel would add a lot in regards to what students really want.
That's actually one of the things that I'm very passionate about if I'm elected. There's a lot of things that ASUAF can do. It's a very powerful organization. We do give a lot of money to club and club funding, and also to student travel, and these are great things that we can do for the university. But I think it does start with student input, and one of the things that I want to do is have regular open houses with ASUAF that also involves the different governance groups. We did one last semester. It went very well, and I'd love to see that happen more, because there were a lot of students who had maybe never even heard of, the ASUAF or different parts of the governance groups or how they worked, and they got to meet all of us in one place and talk with all of us, and that's something that I definitely want to do in the future. as well as having senators actually tabling out here in the Wood Center and MBS at different places around campus on a weekly or, every other week. So students are actually there. They can see that senators are out there, looking for their input, wanting to hear what their ideas or their questions are, and having them actually, give a better gauge of how students are feeling and therefore give better representation. And another thing on travel and those types of different club funding and those things, I think we have the ability to give more than we do now, and that's something that I would look into, is looking in the budget and seeing where we can allocate more funding to clubs and different student organizations. That's one of the largest things that our bills are written for, is to give money to different events on campus for clubs, and it would be nice to be able to give those clubs that funding that they need up front so that they can have these kinds of events and they don't have to, always come and find a senator to write a bill for them and then wait for it to go through the Senate. We did give startup club funding last year, which was really awesome. It was really cool. So the first 10 clubs that signed up that were brand new, they got $25 to just give like a startup fee, which was great. And also, as Ball said, doing resolutions are something that ASUAF can do that shows the administration that we are the student voice. It is something very powerful. With the financial aid disbursement policy, it did affect a lot of students very negatively, and it's something that we came up and we said, this is hurting students. This is a problem. And after the Senate passed that, I brought that to the Coalition of Student Leaders in February at our Juneau meeting, and I said, this is what's happening on our campus. And there were actually several other campuses who had the same different policy change, and the coalition voted as a whole coalition to write a resolution in support of our resolution, and several other campuses actually contacted me and trying to write their own, saying, how did you write yours? What is your exact changes that happened? Because it didn't just happen at UAF, it happened to other campuses as well. So I understand not only problems on the UAF campus, but how we can use these different tools that we have available to us to actually help the whole system and help students around the state also, not just on the UAF campus.
As everyone said, ASUAF is it's a very powerful organization. It has a lot of ways to help students, and I think overall it's been, everyone tries to do their best, but the thing is ASUAF is, the Senate is up to 14 student leaders, and the executive is about 5. So that's 19 student leaders who all come from very different backgrounds. One of the things that I would like to see is that ASUAF plans better. We all have these big issues. We have financial aid, we've got buildings on campus, and we all want to make it better. The problem is that we haven't, we're driving. We've all got our own agendas behind us. We all need to come together and plan better. How can we do this? When can we effectively go at this? I serve as internal affairs chair, and one of the things that internal affairs does is, it plans the Senate retreat, which is aimed to be where the Senate sits down, sets goals, looks at what they want to do that semester, that entire year, and should be working on a plan to go at it. And yeah, that's what I like to see. And on top of that, club funding. This year in executive, we reviewed the budget after submitted by the president, and one thing that I scanned through there was trying to find more places that we could put more funding for clubs, and next year we'll see over $2,000 more to clubs and travel funding.
As everyone has said, ASUF is very good at funding other student activities, and one problem that I have is with dining services. As vegan, it's really hard to find somebody to accommodate diet needs. Also, the people that are wheat intolerant and gluten intolerant, we don't really have anything to eat on campus, and it's really frustrating to pay $1,800 for a meal plan I barely use. And also, I was handicapped for about 2 months in the winter this semester, and I found it very hard to get around campus, and it was extremely frustrating to try and get anywhere in -40 when you're on crutches. So it was really frustrating, and I'm glad I can walk without a brace again. Also, more has been falling the past few years, and I don't think it's safe to house 7 floors of students in a building that is not structurally sound. So if any building needs help, it's more, and I would like to see that addressed. And I'm very happy with the SRC. I'm very health-oriented. I like how the SRC has very many different things going for it. The rock wall, the Patty Center has a gym, we have a shooting range, an ice rink, all the equipment, and it's really nice to see that a campus has that much for health benefits going for it.
Okay, so first, what I think ASUF does very well is advocate for UAF at the legislative meetings in Juneau. Also, they're very good, as everyone has said, funding other student activities. What I think they could do better would be perhaps increase student input within the student government itself, that is, increase awareness of what the Senate is doing and what the executive branch is doing, also try to get more people involved. We recently had to reduce the number of Senate chairs from 20 to 14. I was very against this. I think that the route we should have taken is instead try to increase the interest in the Senate so we could actually fill it up with 20 senators. So one of my goals will be try to increase the amount of people running for senator, as well as all the executive positions next year. This will increase the amount of campaigning done by each person running, which will also increase the amount of awareness in the general student population, which hopefully will increase the amount of input in the student government. As far as academically, I believe that the student government should be trying to increase avenues for advising. I believe that there are very good advising opportunities on campus and alternatives on campus, but also believe there are very not as good ones on campus. And I believe that if we focus on what we're doing right, we can try to make it so that we're doing it right everywhere, if that makes sense. Also, as far as becoming involved, I believe that for the most part, there are students that just don't know how to get involved. I grabbed a stack of Josh Hovis's note cards or business cards and started handing them out to people, and there were tons of people who were like, wow, I had no idea I could just start a student organization like that, and it's led to good results. And I believe that if we just increase awareness of how to get involved, that more people will get involved. So those are a few things that I believe that ASUF could do better.
And I was wondering if anyone in the crowd would like to ask anybody any questions about the upcoming election. Any questions? Oh, guy in the back.
Name's Sam Schmidt. I have a question. There's two different types of candidates that people tend to have in mind. There's one who's actually going to make a huge difference and one who's trying to pad their resume. What sets you apart that shows that you are the person who is actually trying to get something done and not just trying to throw something on a resume and not actually work as hard as it possibly can?
I'm currently an ROTC cadet. Upon graduation, I'm going to be going into the military. The military does not care about my resume. The reason I am here and the reason I am doing this is because I feel like I can make a real difference in the way our student government operates. It'll take a lot of help from a lot of people to change an organization that has been relatively ineffective at advocating here on campus for so long. But that's what I am here to do, is I want a student government that we can all be proud of, instead of a student government most people don't even know exists. And that's why I'm running, and that's what I'm trying to do, and what I would try to do as the president of the organization. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to answer that?
As a math major, what I do with politics doesn't really affect my career opportunities after graduation.
So I was one of the students, like a lot of students on campus, that wasn't really aware of ASUAF and everything that it did for, the first about year and a half that I was here. And then I had people trying to recruit me to get on, and I always thought that I didn't have time. And then I eventually got on the Senate, and I just, I made the decision that I wanted to do something because I had problems with administration. I said, I'm done being a bystander, and I want to do something that can actually make a difference. And now that I'm involved, I've gotten involved with so many different organizations within ASUAF and above ASUAF, And now I actually don't have time for a lot of other things, but I could not be more committed to what am I doing, and I absolutely believe that ASUAF is this great resource for students on campus. And I want more students who may be like me, who don't think that they have time, or they don't care, or they aren't as involved, or don't want to be involved, that they have this opportunity available to them. And like many other universities, it's easy to get involved, and I want more students to realize that, and that they can make a difference on this campus for themselves and also for their fellow students. And being involved also with statewide leadership, it shows me that, it's easy to sometimes think that Fairbanks is just off in the middle of nowhere on its own, but a lot of campuses around the state have very similar problems as we do, with, different student issues or issues with administration, but we can actually come together. We can create a dialogue throughout the campus-wide system and actually come up with solutions or work towards making University of Alaska better for all students. And I just hope that I can further fulfill this role in the executive position of the president.
Yeah, so I've been going to school here for 3 years, and in that time I've taken a lot of opportunities to just be a student leader around campus, and I only do it, most of it's volunteering, and I just really love this campus. I mean, there isn't a tradition that I haven't been involved with since I've been here. I always take a chance to help out, whenever I can. I just see this as a great way for me to serve campus. I know how ASUAF works, and I think I could bring a lot to the executives, as a member.
As a linguistics major, I don't really have much to do with politics. I study language. It's one of my passions. But I also find that as a minority for dining services, it's really frustrating. And I do realize if I am a vice president, the minority probably won't get served as much as I would like it to be served. There's not very many people that do need special diet needs. There's not very many people that need handicap services. And so it's kind of, I want to bring those issues forward, but I also want to work on the bigger issues, such as engineering, the power plant, housing, and all of those other things, because I've had to deal with it for 3 years. I've had to fight with the business office. I've had to fight with admissions. And it's very frustrating when you are trying to get help and you feel like nobody is there for you. And I found the advisors on campus are generally very helpful, but when you go to the business office with a problem and they kind of push you to the side, it's not very welcoming. So I would hope to work with ASUAF on getting more of a helping hand.
Closing statements?
Does everybody want to answer that question?
And okay, so your question was like why we put it on rather than having it on a resume than like actually showing what we do and whatever not. Was that correct? Right. Okay. So I personally started off. I disliked politics. I hated it, and then like I was gonna get involved with this one club. Like it just started off with one club. Like at first it was ANSEP, and then it moved towards Natives for Positive Change. And then it just naturally brought out what I am like good at, like just being like a secretariat there and whatever not. And then I had this like dear friend who like showed me like how to do all this stuff. And then I just became a natural at it, like being a leader. So like even towards my hometown community, it just brings out who you can be. And I really think that's an awesome thing, bringing out what like the inside of you rather than just like throwing it on a resume like, oh, I was a senator. Like that also means something a lot. Like it shows what you can lead and shows what you can do, like to help a community as a whole and as an individual. That's how I see it.
I've never really been too overly concerned about my resume, really. I mean, my goal after UAF is to apply for a job, not try to get into Harvard or something. And I think with a college degree and just having done a lot of things that I really care about and that I really enjoy, and I think that speaks more than specifically what you do. I've just been trying to do things that I care about and that I find interesting, and we'll see where I end up with that.
I specifically would really like the boost on my resume for being a member of the UAF concert board. I'm not going to lie, but I don't think in any way does that hinder my desire and passion to be an active member of of the concert board and to be a participant of planning and allowing for these these concerts and these activities to happen on the UAF campus.
Okay. Did anyone else have any questions they'd like to ask? No? No? Oh, we got one. You can just say your name.
My name's Chanda File. I was wondering more of what, because I've from just talking to some of my friends who are non-traditional and graduate students, how ASUAF could be more inclusive, or how you would plan to be more inclusive of non-traditional graduate students. Like, there was a lot of complaints about the fee increase, the one last semester by those students and like students who go to CTC. And I was just wondering how ASUAF could try and be more inclusive of the entire student body, and just not just the people who live on campus or the people who are traditional students.
This is something that I actually came into a lot, actually just getting my petition signed to run for this. I talked with a lot of students who said, why should I sign this? I'm a graduate student. I live off campus. What do you do for, like, why do I care? Why would I even sign this for you? What can you do for me? And just talking with them, I think there's a lot of different things that we could do for them. And one thing is actually just finding ways that they can get involved, even though they are not on campus as much as traditional students who do live on campus and who are undergraduate students. And that's going back to, making ASUAF more available and more present on campus versus us sitting in our office and not getting out and actually talking to students. And for another thing, we have a trust fund actually, and they're talking about it right now for turning it into a scholarship because it hasn't really been touched or managed in a long time. There's a bucket just of papers of, all these different kinds of things, and we're trying to figure out exactly what happened with it and different things that have happened in the past. But one thing that they're looking for the future is setting up a scholarship. That one scholarship part of it would be for an undergraduate student, the other half would be for a graduate student. So that's one thing that we can do easily that can benefit graduate students, because they do pay for a student government fee, and they might not feel like that affects them as much. And that's one little thing that we can do to help them. And I very, very strongly believe that just being more present on campus and being out here and being more available to students, and also at CTC, because they do have their own smaller student government out there that hasn't really been put together well or overseen at all. So that's something that I'd also like to change and actually make that an effective way for students who are not on the main campus to have a say in what's happening with within the student government.
Yeah, actually, I do sit on that board of trustees over that trust fund, and that is what we're looking to do 2 awards of that design. And also, I mean, ASUF really, I think the best way that we have right now, and what we can look into is just advocating the association. I mean, beyond like helping those students get what they want, but also just what we have to offer them. I mean, we still, all the services of the ASUAF office here are open to grad students, and I'm an off-campus student. And, I utilize the free faxing. We also have legal counseling if you need it, which not too many people know about, but if you need it. And, free coffee. And, yeah, so it's just getting the word out of what we can do to help those students is one of the best ways that we can help off-campus and non-traditional students.
Okay, so there are demographics in the student body that are represented in the student government, and there are demographics that are not. The old saying goes, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. A way we can get those demographics that are not so more involved, is we could conduct surveys, referendums, send out emails. Everyone has an alaska.edu email. For graduate students in particular, there are graduate level classes, which I think by definition all graduate level students take. You could just go around to these classrooms and put a little survey on the desks and before class starts. that's only one demographic. I mean, we need to try to reach everyone, but there are solutions to these things, I believe. Yeah, that'll be all.
I feel like the best way we can help graduate students and students alike is actually behaving and actually functioning like an effective student union so that we can have an impact at the policy-making level on this campus. These policies that the administration passes affect all students, undergraduate students, graduate students. The primary purpose of our organization should be to get that voice heard at the administrative level so that students, all students, are involved in the decision-making process. These decisions that get made can have dramatic impacts on the lives of students, but right now we don't make our voice heard enough. Our primary purpose should be as a student union. Our primary purpose should make sure that the student voice is heard on campus. Currently, we do lots of funding, but we don't use that voice. As Ayla talked a little bit earlier about passing resolutions. A resolution is a document that says the official opinion of students at UAF is the following. And when we use that power, we can actually make a real difference. We can say, this is what students at UAF think. When I wrote that resolution, that was the first resolution that had been written and passed in student government in years. And why I wrote that is I thought it was basically the direction that I want to try to steer ASUAF towards, is we need to take stands on issues. We need to take stands when the administration changes policies that negatively affect us. And if we build that reputation of being an effective way to organize students to actually impact policy changes here on campus in the future, instead of passing those changes with knowing that they won't have any resistance from students, they'll expect that backlash and they'll contact students and they'll talk with students and they'll communicate with students before those changes even happen. Furthermore, in terms of one thing I think we could do that would help graduate students is one thing a lot of graduate students do is the travel applications and the travel funding system. Currently, we have a system where we effectively give a very small amount of money to a ton of different people who apply. And while that's good to try to fund as many people as possible, what ends up happening is none of the applicants actually get enough money to be able to do their trip. Is they receive such a small quantity of money from the application that will make very little difference in their funding. So I think for our travel funding applications, we should allocate more money to fewer applicants, pick through the best applications so that these students actually some of the students will actually get enough money so that they can go on these trips instead of just having very small amounts of it. One thing I'd like to do with the Senate in general to make it a more friendly environment that anyone can come to is, while I was down in Juneau, this is something that really impressed me. They have a representative, your representative, introduce you to the Senate. And so while you're there, you feel like you have effectively someone on your side. Right now, when someone comes to the Senate for funding, whether they're undergraduate or graduate students for a project that they may have, it's a very hostile feeling environment because we make them speak at the beginning. They're not allowed to speak throughout the debate or anything. If they want to say something during the debate, there's this awkward process where we have to grant them permission to speak. I'd like a much more open process, a much more friendly environment that when you come into that Senate, you don't feel like you have 14 sets of eyes glaring at you wondering why are these people wanting to take money from us. It shouldn't be like that. We're here for the students, and if we could really fundamentally change the way our Senate meetings operate to make them more, friendly to students, I feel like that would be another way that we could just help out with this entire process. So if a graduate student had some research they were trying to do or needed to travel or something like that, when they came in, they wouldn't feel like they're getting just stared down. They would feel like this was a place that they could go and have someone on their side. Thank you.
Well, we can go after the time limit just a little bit. So if you want to.
Okay, I don't mind. One of the things that I noticed, like that other high schools and colleges that also do get the alumni involved, they have support, they give sweaters and such and not to say where they're from, and what they like. They basically had sweaters that said alumni of this high school or university, and that's a pretty awesome way to get like alumni or like graduates involved, is by like showing or even like doing activities that involve them. These would include like future events that would involve current students and alumni or so. And based on past experiences, that I actually was an alumni of this high school, and we went back. They had this organization planned out in the future where it already past happened, but then we got back with them. And the way it worked is that like we would hold activities with the current students, and like we were basically acting as teachers, like being a role model or so. But the way I see it, that I can see it working for this university also, just doing activities with current students, like getting the alumni involved. That's the way I see it, or so, a point of view.
Did you want to answer?
I think I'll pass on this one.
All right.
As far as I'm concerned, too, concerts and events aren't really exclusatory towards any class standing and or age. So as far as ways to get all students in participation of going to concert board events, I would just continue with the advocation and allow ease of access for information regarding what students want.
Okay, so we're at 2:00. Unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to call it. I know that some of you still have questions. Hopefully, some of the people that are running will stay after, and you'll be able to ask their questions to you. Even if you don't have time, there's still a couple days left. You can still ask them anything you want, because hopefully they're very open about answering questions. But yeah, elections are tomorrow and Friday, all day. We'll have polling places all over campus. If you can't get onto campus, we'll have polling online. So that'll be a really good way if you want. So once again, I want to thank you guys for coming out, and have a good day.